Hey guys, welcome back. This is Val. And in today's video, I'm going to show you how to blend multiple stellar blade images in Photoshop. Now, this technique is kind of generic, so you can use it in any type of 2D software out there that has layers. For instance, the free Gimp or any other software. Now, I've got this main screenshot here from stellar blade. Before we begin, upon taking the shot, I kind of, had this drone included by mistake, so I'm gonna select that using the lasso tool over here and hit Shift F5, content aware, color adoption, and click on OK. That will remove that drone from my image. Now this sometimes leaves kind of like a mark or semi edges or something like that, and so one way of fixing that is just using the clone stamp tool, maybe around size 200 or so, and opacity, let's use 50, and alt click on an area that has some data in it, like here, and then I can just go around here, click there, alt click here, alt click here, and just work your way around until you no longer see that weird stuff, right? And there are multiple ways of working with objects in Photoshop. I don't need to go through that right now. Basically, you can just clone stamp your way around and remove the drone that way as well, right? So, and let me just go back a little bit. There we go. And so I took a few other shots here as well of a droid. And for instance, this one here. Now, when you blend multiple, props, you want to make sure that you have a similar camera height and angle, and also similar lighting conditions. In this case, Eve is lit by direct sunlight, so she has the shadow kind of facing straight towards the camera. This droid here doesn't have the shadow straight towards the camera. It's kind of like at an angle, maybe 30 degrees. Which is okay because shadows ain't straight. If you look there at the boxes, they are on the far right side of the image, and the shadows are, ta-da, going to the right. And here, shadows are going to the left. All right. So shadows are not static in an image just because your main character here has shadows going towards the camera. So the way to select this is to use a tool called object selection. Just click on that, shift click on the weapon, and I'm going to select the shadow next in a separate operation. And pretty much you hit Ctrl C to copy that, go back, Ctrl V to paste, and I can hold down Ctrl, use Command on the Mac, and hold down left mouse button to move this around. So I'll place it somewhere where it makes sense, right? I mean, if you place that here, it would appear to be a really giant one. All right, and here it would be like a small one. So you have to be a little bit kind of aware of where and how you're putting things. But see, lighting wise, that kind of works now, right? And then you go back here, deselect, and just select that shadow over here. Gonna select that all together. Ctrl C to copy, go back here, Ctrl V to paste. Hold down Ctrl, left mouse button, and move that into place. Now the thing is, this shadow, upon placing it here, it doesn't look good, right? It's not overlaid properly. So what you can do here on this layer is go into the blending mode and choose darken. That will blend the shadow properly, all right? Now another thing we can do is grab another thing here that has the shadow going to the left. Let's grab this one. It's a little bit more distant, all right? So if I grab this one, that's maybe too much. Let's grab another one. Let's go for, how about this one here? I don't want to have a similar kind of pose. I think this one is a little bit different. It's kind of similar, right? We don't want that. We want a different, it's like a an additional droid. Let's grab this one here. So I took a bunch of, screenshots of a droid. I just removed Eve from the equation. Again, I'm going to select object, click here. No need to shift click this time around. Copy, go back, paste, and let's move it to a different location. Now, you got to be aware of where things are and scale, right? This one is smaller, so it's further away, like so, right? Then we're gonna copy the shadow, select lasso tool, deselect, grab the shadow all the way, something like that, and go back and paste. Now this shadow is kind of like a large one, right? It's gonna end up over there. And similar thing here, we can change the blending mode to darken. Now sometimes when you press darken, you have dark, details, like in this case from the sand shadows, right? The shadows, the sand is also casting shadows in this particular case. So what you can do when this is happening is make sure the layer is selected. Then we're gonna go here and create a layer mask, this thingy here, make sure it's selected. Then we're gonna select black color. If you don't have black, click here and maybe, here to rotate it, just to get black up here at the top. And then I'm gonna select main brush, just a normal brush, nothing, weird. Hardness 0, so it's soft, a little bit larger than that, and use opacity maybe around 30. Lowering the opacity means that when you're putting pressure on this now, see, you can go ahead and kind of fade the effect instead of having kind of like a hard edge, right? So this can now become part of your blend, and you can, depending on where you are, you can select smaller size or adjust the opacity if needed. If you're working somewhere here, maybe you can have a smaller brush, right? And so forth and so forth. And I'm not doing this super precisely, right now. You can spend as much time on this as you want. In most cases, I'm just showing the technique, and then we can do the Hollywood, thingy later, right? And so forth. So we have a quick one over here. Let's do one more. So let's put one behind Eve, a little bit more dramatic. So I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna put one that has shadows straight towards the camera. So I'm gonna locate, I think this one here, right? Has a shadow straight towards the camera. Let's see about that. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna grab object selection, click on that, shift click to add multiple parts if needed. This one doesn't really work at times. This is an AI tool. So if it doesn't work, deselect, let's zoom in, and let's do the manual approach. So what I'm gonna do is just a very quick manual selection. You can do this more in detail later. There's, like I said, multiple ways of selecting. Let's grab the shadow at the same time. There's multiple ways of selecting in Photoshop, multiple ways of doing things, and we don't have to go through that right now, right? So I'm gonna paste that. Click here to go to the main chain, so to speak. Control V to paste. And now I've got this one over here, which we're gonna place somewhere around here. And we can fine tune this slightly by creating a mask, and then I'm gonna go black. Brush again and use 100% just for a quick show off here, right? I just wanna show you this really quick. So I'm gonna have to spend and make this perfect. Something like that. And again, you can do this as precisely as you need for your project, right? What I'm gonna do is detach the shadows. I'm gonna select the shadow over here and Control X to remove it. Oops, sorry about that, that was the wrong layer. I'm gonna go to the main layer, Control X to remove that, Control V to paste. Now we have the shadow separated, we can put it over here. and change that to darken, right? So it projects onto the ground. Now, that one, I want to kind of use black. Excuse me for going really fast. I've been using Photoshop for 30 years, so I'm kind of proficient with it. And, you know, let me know in the comments if I'm going too fast or if you want to know something else. There is always, you know, things I can improve when I'm teaching. So just real quick, right, we have now that shadow over here. And by the way, any time when you have a shadow placed on the ground, you can click on the main layer and adjust the opacity to kind of tune it in. So it doesn't need to be pitch dark, or it can be, right? There's multiple ways of adjusting that as well. You can go into adjustments here and use contrast to get that shadow darker and so forth, right? So there is, like I said, multiple ways of playing with stuff. Now, back to the droid. It's almost in place. There is a small thing here I just want to adjust real quick. Here. So I'm working on the mask layer here now, right? Just removing some parts that are getting in my way. Something you can use for objects in the distance is to add haze. As you can see, items in the near vicinity of Eve are kind of normal, contrast wise, and in the background they're kind of faded or hazy, right? And you can add that effect onto your character. One of the simplest ways of doing that is click on the main layer and just make it semi-transparent. That would kind of tune it. There was, like I said, a gazillion ways of doing that, right? I don't have to go through them all right now. Now, the final thing is we can select Eve and put her on top just to cover that droid, all right? That will be selecting, for instance, clicking the object, selecting Eve, Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V, and then placing her at the very top. But at times, as you can see, that doesn't generate a well cut off properly thingy, right? So in this case, I would just do things a little bit simpler. And that is to click on the droid layer, the main one, not the mask, this one here. And just use a black brush, like so, opacity 100. And whoops, that was the wrong thing to do. Mask layer, there you go. And we just remove that from the equation. All right, so basically we have put the droid now in front of Eve, behind her. The shadow is also in front of Eve, behind her. We got one droid here, one droid here. All lighting, as you can see, all lighting matches. Oops, all lighting matches, and it looks like it belongs where it should, right? Like I said in the beginning, shadows do differ depending on where they are put in your image. And this thing I just showed you here is great for, well, all kinds of things. If you want to have more of something, like if you're battling 2 or 3 enemies and you want to battle 10 or 20 or 100, this is a quick way of, adding those, right? And in upcoming videos, I'm going to show you even more. I'm going to show you how to do this, kind of create an army, like thousands of droids, right? So we're going to be having a really, really good time and playing with tons of effects, different tools. And I want to know from you guys, what kind of tools do you want to use? Because this is what I'm doing right now is, like I said, I've been using Photoshop for 30 years. I've been teaching 3D art for 20 years. So I have a specific flow and I use specific tools. But I want to know what would you like to use on your end? Where are you at? Do you want to use Photoshop? Do you have some other tools you're using? Do you want to use some kind of AI tools? Like I said, I'm going to be covering a lot of tools, a lot of different options, and showcasing how similar effects can be created using different tools, because there is not one way of creating a specific effect. There is a gazillion ones, tools to choose from, or techniques, and each one technique has its own pros and cons. There is always, whatever method you choose, there is always something good about it and something really, really bad about it. It's just the way things are, right? So guys, that was about this image kind of turned out pretty cool, right? And this is what I wanted to show you in today's video. If you like this stuff, guys, hit like on the video, follow the channel. I'm gonna be producing tons of cool stuff ahead. We have barely scratched the surface. We're gonna be, you know, creating stuff in 3D and adding to game footage. We're gonna be kind of turning the tides and, you know, changing things around, changing weather, changing lighting, and all this is gonna be a whole cool thing happening here. So let me know, guys, what you like, what you want more of, what you want me to do differently so that you can follow along my weird videos, right? I need to know, guys. I'm here for you, all right? So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon again.